And lastly, we need to look at an interest rate swap. And please note, of all of the interest rate derivatives that we've looked at, interest rate swaps are the most widely used for hedging purposes in South Africa. Let's look at the example just below. Grayston Limited currently has a long-term borrowing with a fixed interest rate of 12%. They are of the opinion that a variable interest rate would suit them better. They can borrow directly from the bank at a variable rate of 10.5%, but they have found in the past that it's more beneficial to borrow at a fixed rate and then enter into an interest rate swap agreement. The bankers have sourced a counterparty, Woodmead Limited, and Woodmead is currently borrowing at a variable rate of 11.5%, and they wish to change to a fixed rate profile. The counterparty can borrow directly from the bank at a fixed rate of 14% per annum. Now, before we look at the details of this swap agreement, let's first analyze what's currently happening in more detail. So let's first look at their current position. So guys, if we look at Grayston, in terms of their current position, they are currently borrowing at a fixed interest rate of 12%. So that is currently what they are paying their bank, a fixed rate of 12%. What is Woodmead currently doing? They are currently borrowing at a variable rate of 11.5%. So that's currently what they are paying their bank. However, Grayston can also borrow from their bank at a variable rate. If they borrow at a variable rate, they will be paying interest at 10.5%. So just include that in your calculation below. And as an alternative for Woodmead, instead of borrowing at a variable rate of 11.5%, they can borrow at a fixed rate of 14%. So please also just include that. Now what we need to do is we need to analyze whether a swap agreement will actually work between these two companies. So first, let's compare the different fixed rates that are available to the different companies. Grayston can pay interest at a fixed rate of 12%, and Woodmead can pay interest at a fixed rate of 14%. So please note, Grayston's interest rate is 2% lower than the interest rate that Woodmead would pay if they had a fixed rate of interest with their bank. So this 2% difference that we have over here is a 2% gain or a 2% saving, because Grayston is currently borrowing at a fixed rate and their fixed rate is 2% lower than the fixed rate Woodmead would pay if they had to have a fixed rate with their bank. So it's a 2% saving. You can see the discussion just below. Because Grayston has a stronger credit rating, it makes sense that they borrow at a fixed rate of interest, because they can borrow at 12% per annum, whereas Woodmead can only borrow at 14% per annum. So this results in a 2% gain for the counterparties. So that's the 2% saving that we calculated above. However, for the interest rate swap to work, if Grayston is borrowing at a fixed rate, then Woodmead must borrow at a variable rate. They must have different rates that they are borrowing at in order for the swap to work. The one borrows at a fixed rate, the other borrows at a variable rate. You can also see that just below. Woodmead would have to borrow at a variable rate for the swap agreement to work. So please note, Woodmead pays interest at a variable rate of 11.5%, whereas Grayston would pay interest at a variable rate of 10.5%. So please note, by Woodmead borrowing at a variable rate, this is an extra cost of 1% for the counterparties. So you can see that discussion just below. The 1% is therefore negative because Woodmead is borrowing at a higher rate relative to that applicable to Grayston. Grayston can get a variable rate of 10.5%. Woodmead is borrowing at 1% above that. So this is a cost of 1%. So what is the net effect? We have a saving of 2%, a cost of 1%. So the net effect is we have a saving of 1% or a gain of 1%. And please note what we are going to do now is we are going to determine how that overall gain of 1% is going to be shared between the counterparties. So please note the first calculation that you need to perform if you have an interest rate swap is you need to look at their current position. And by looking at this calculation, we must have a gain or a saving. If we don't have a gain or a saving, then an interest rate swap would not work. So here we have calculated that overall there will be a saving or a gain of 1%. So because there's a saving, an interest rate swap agreement will work. Now what we need to do is we need to determine how the counterparties are going to share this saving between the two of them. Both counterparties must benefit from this interest rate swap agreement. So they are going to share this 1% saving between the two of them. And that is then the next calculation that we are going to look at. How do they share that gain of 1%? However, before we perform that calculation, it's important to note that even though these two companies enter into an interest rate swap agreement, their original obligations to their banks do not change. So let's first look at what their obligations are to their banks. Then we're going to look at what the actual terms are relating to this swap agreement. And then we will wrap up by calculating how they are going to share the overall gain of 1% between the two of them. So we know that Gryon is currently paying their bank a fixed rate of 12%. And we also know that Woodmead is currently paying their bank a variable rate of 11.5%. And even though they enter into a swap agreement between the two of them, their legal obligations with their respective banks will not change. Now let's look at the terms of this swap agreement. In terms of this swap agreement, Gryon is going to pay interest at a variable rate of 11.5% to Woodmead. So let's include that in our diagram. And we also know that Woodmead is going to pay interest at a fixed rate of 13.5% to Gryon. Now, I want you to please just look at the position of Gryon. First, we're going to look at what happens to Gryon. Once we're happy with what happens for Gryon, we will then look at Woodmead. So please note, Gryon is going to pay their bank a fixed rate of 12%. They are going to pay Woodmead a variable rate of 11.5%, and they are going to receive a fixed rate of 13.5% from Woodmead. So if we include that in our calculation just below, we can see they pay their bank a fixed rate of 12%. They pay Woodmead a variable rate of 11.5%. And they receive a fixed rate of 13.5% from Woodmead. So if we add this up, we have a fixed rate of 12% that they are paying, plus a variable rate of 11.5%, minus they are receiving a fixed rate of 13.5%. So if you perform that calculation on your calculator, you are going to see the net effect is a rate of 10%. So that's just 12 plus 11.5 minus 13.5. That leaves me with 10%. How do I know that this is now a variable rate? Please note, they are paying a fixed rate and they are also receiving a fixed rate. So the two fixed rates are going to cancel each other out, and the net effect is they are paying a variable rate. So the net effect is Grayston is paying a variable rate of 10%. Please note, if they had to go to their bank and get a variable rate directly from their bank, what would they pay? Their bank is prepared to give them a variable rate of 10.5%. So if they didn't have the swap agreement, if they went to their bank, they would borrow at a variable rate of 10.5%. However, in terms of the swap agreement, they can borrow at a variable rate of 10%. So what is their benefit in terms of this swap? You can see they have a saving of 0.5%. So that deals with Grayston's situation. Let's now look at what happens for Woodmead. Woodmead pays their bank a variable rate of 11.5%. Include that in the table below. They pay Grayston a fixed rate of 13.5%. Include that in the table. They receive from Grayston a variable rate of 11.5%. Include that. So they pay 11.5% to the bank, they pay 13.5% to Grayston, and they receive 11.5% from Grayston. So if we say 11.5 plus 13.5 minus 11.5, we are left with a fixed rate of 13.5%. Look at this on your diagram above to make sure you're happy with the logic. They pay their bank a variable rate of 11.5% and they receive a variable rate of 11.5% from Grayston. So this works perfectly, and you can see these completely cancel each other out. They pay a variable rate of 11.5%, they receive a variable rate of 11.5%. Net effect, 0. So they then pay a fixed rate of 13.5% to Grayston, and that is the net effect. They are left with a fixed rate of 13.5%. If we did not have this swap agreement and Woodmead went directly to their bank, they would be able to borrow from their bank at a fixed rate of 14%. So what is their benefit in terms of this swap agreement? If they go to the bank, they would pay a fixed rate of 14%. Through the swap agreement, they are paying a fixed rate of 13.5%. So they have a gain or a benefit of 0.5%. So please note, that is how the overall gain of 1% is shared between the two parties. Each of them have a gain or a benefit of 0.5%. Now, please note, the benefit does not have to be shared equally between the two counterparties. We could have had a benefit here of 0.4% and a benefit here of 0.6%. It just happens in this question that they are both benefiting equally from this agreement. But as long as both counterparties benefit from the swap, so there's a benefit for both of them, then the swap arrangement will work. It doesn't have to be an equal benefit. They must just both benefit from this agreement. And they do both benefit because they end up paying interest at a lower rate than they would have if they go to their bank directly. And also please note, they are now both borrowing in terms of their preferred arrangement. We were told in the question that Grayston wanted a variable rate and that Woodmead wanted a fixed rate. So they are now borrowing at the rate that they actually want. And in addition to that, they are also saving in terms of the interest rate percentage. So you can see just below in the conclusion, both of them have reduced their interest rates and both of them are also borrowing according to their preferred arrangement with regard to the fixed or variable interest rates. Then one more thing, just in case this comes up as a discussion question, please note we have not taken into account the fact that the bank is going to charge a fee for arranging this swap. So you were told in the information provided in the question that the bank has managed to source a counterparty. The bankers sourced a counterparty. So they actually set up this swap agreement. And the bank is obviously going to charge a fee for setting up the swap agreement. We haven't taken that fee into account. So this gain of 1% is ignoring any potential bank charges. So please note the bank will obviously charge for this service, which will end up reducing this gain. So the gain will be reduced by the percentage charged by the bank as the fee for arranging the swap. All right, guys. So first, when you've got a swap agreement, first calculate whether you have a gain. If you don't have a gain, then the swap won't work. So that's your first calculation. If you work out that there is a gain, you then need to determine how that gain is going to be shared between the two counterparties. And that then brings us to the end of our lecture on Treasury. Thank you, guys.